Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Plot Hole Productions. I'm your host, Nate Slater.
And I'm Chris Sandberg, and today we're going to be discussing the Resident Evil franchise.
Well, folks, with the recent release of Resident Evil 9, or Resident Evil Requiem as it is titled, uh, I've been playing it. Chris hasn't played it yet. He hasn't even played 8, but that's okay. He's going
Yeah,
to.
well, yeah, I just recently finally finished 7. I figure if I keep this up, number 10 will be out and I'll finally be caught up.
But it happens. It took me forever to even play 7 myself. So when they announced 9, I felt like, okay, I'm behind the ball. I need to get on it. So, with that said, if you haven't played any Resident Evil games or seen any of the movies, here's your spoiler warning because we're going to talk in depth about the franchise as a whole. We started getting a whole bunch of announcements up to the release of Resident Evil 9 that we were getting a new movie, another reboot, the
Yeah.
first part of the franchise with Mila Jovovich, it made its money, but it wasn't a good franchise. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that first movie was pretty solid, and, a lot of people had high hopes, but that was the only one that really separated itself from the games, without using other characters or anything like that. Um, when they did start to bring people in from the franchise, that's when they just said F you to the video games. We are the new lore.
Yeah, the first movie kept you hoping for what could be, and then it totally goes off the rails, especially by the third movie. But we'll get
Yeah.
into that in a minute. As far as the games go, we have 9 that came out. They're announcing a couple other remakes. I think they announced there will be Resident Evil 10 at some point. We're gonna get a remake of Code Veronica, possibly Resident Evil 0, and I'm pretty sure we'll get a remake of 5 and 1 as well, even though Resident Evil 1 was remade for the GameCube back in the day and then it was ported to other systems. I am one of those people who feel like, fuck it, just reboot it number 1 again because I'm still not a fan of the old tank controls, and I would like to see it get that Resident Evil 2, 3, 4
Right.
ish kind of remake.
I mean, it's nice that we do have something that isn't just pixelated completely. So, yes, you can play the remake of the first game and not be completely upset about it.
Yeah.
Um, but I understand, like, for a company to keep remaking the same game, well, unless you're Naughty Dog,
Yeah.
it can be a hassle. Naughty Dog has kind of made all of their money off of just remaking their own games over and over.
Yeah. At least for sure 2 of them.
Yeah. So with the first one, yes, there's a remaster. Number 2, number 3 with their remakes, phenomenal. Number 4 was everything you expected and more. I don't know if they're gonna do a number 5. I mean, they could. They could, absolutely. But it is very much playable in its current state,
I
you
mean,
know?
technically, so was 4.
It
They
was. The one thing I'll say about 4 is they hadn't quite mastered the action style controls.
yeah.
And while, yes, even number 5 is a little dated, it was a little more free range and easier to use.
Yeah, I think the hard part about remaking number 5 would be the co-op kind of essence to it, because my problem with that game, I know you and I, we were living together back in the day, and that was a
Yeah.
game that we played couch co-op all the time. The only drawback to that was the horror factor. It really, when you got someone playing with you, well, what are you gonna be scared of? You know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think they if they were to remake it, I don't think horror would be what they're diving into.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that there will be certain spots as there were in that original game. But yeah, you're right. With it being co-op, aside from the parts where you split off, which are very few and far
Yeah.
between anyway, because I could see them getting into the horror there. Because you're not there to protect each other. Um, but then you'll still have the issue of just someone waiting for
Yeah.
you if you're taking too long. And they're just, at the checkpoint, like, move your ass. Come on. Come
Yeah.
on, Chris.
Yeah, I feel like 5 poses a lot of problems when it comes to a remake. 6, out of all of them, I want them to remake 6 because that was horrible. But as far as 5 goes, I think that out of all the games that they made would be the hardest to remake while trying to keep the integrity of the original intact.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about it is that it takes place far away for the most part during the daytime, so, like, you don't have to worry too much about horror. It can be
Yeah,
more body horror than anything with the Ouroboros, which is
yeah,
kind of what they were going for at the very beginning, at least. By the time you get inside the temples and stuff like that, you can start having dark corners and corridors and traps and all kinds of stuff that they could lean into with the horror
yeah.
portion.
And let's be honest, the best part about Resident Evil 5 was peak Wesker, even though he dies.
Yeah, exactly. Only for number 6 to be succeeded by the whiny version of himself.
Yeah, which is so bad. They did too much with it. They tried to please everybody and it pleased nobody.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you were there for just one of the character storylines, then you've got a third of a game, if that. I mean, each of their storylines were very short.
I mean, technically a quarter because after you beat the game, you get like the Ada story
Yeah,
mode.
yeah.
So I love Ada as a character. I feel maybe we should just get our own game with her. I think she's interesting enough as a character.
I don't think so. I think it is I mean, don't I'm not saying she's not interesting. I am saying that it is like a rite of passage to unlock her story.
Yeah, I get you there because it's been not really a running joke, but like a running theme as to where when you do play as her, it's like always a bonus mission. So I get
Right.
that. Plus, if you go too far into her backstory or whatever herself, you lose the mystery, and we've talked about that plenty of times here on the
Right.
channel. If you give too much backstory, you kinda kill what made the character great. Yeah, maybe I'm eating my own words there.
It is exactly that because if you saw everything as it unfolded, certain things aren't scary anymore.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that's cool about Ada is the fact that she's mentioned all the way back in the first Resident Evil in, like, a computer email or something like that. When you're in the laboratory at the end of the game. So that was pretty cool, and just to see her pop up in 2, and then if you paid attention in the first one, you're like, "Oh my god, that's who that was?" It's just cool. The mystery is what makes her character awesome.
Yes. Now, as far as the games go, when we hit 7, there was a complete change. We
Yes.
now are going full on horror. A lot of people were obviously comparing it to PT, which was made by Hideo Kojima, and that was supposed to be the Silent Hills project.
Yeah.
Obviously, them being competing games, it was kind of like a big deal that we have this amazing demo that went nowhere, and then suddenly its competitor looks exactly the same.
Yep. The thing that's good about that, though, is the fact that it didn't come out made no competition for 7, so 7 takes that spotlight.
Right, exactly. And it was a new direction, introducing new characters. I mean, a lot of people didn't even see it as a Resident Evil game until they beat it. We're like,
Yeah.
okay. But yeah, it was a new direction and people loved it. And as a result, they've been getting more back into the horror of it. Then comes into 8. I don't know about how you felt when you first played it. Feels weird.
It took me well, it's like that for me for most games. It takes me at least a good 2 days of playing the game to actually get my stride and get into the game and feel like, "Okay, I wanna play this game." It definitely felt like an amalgam of Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 7, and
Yeah.
to me, those are perfect examples of Resident Evil. 2 different, versions of the game, but they both hit the mark that they were trying to hit because of the innovation that they were bringing at the time.
Yep, and as far as the story is concerned, you can't really knock it for constantly changing the enemies. We started with zombies, then it was more mutants, if you
Yeah.
will. And it just I mean, Ouroboros, I mean, what was that? Like, I don't even know what you would classify it as a category of monster.
It was
Uh,
another parasite. Basically,
yeah.
when you look at the surface of Resident Evil, it's zombies, but when you look into the deeper lore of it, it's really all about bioweapons and,
Yes.
organisms that can be used to turn.
Viruses,
Yeah.
parasites.
It just kinda gets out of hand by the time you get to Resident Evil 4 when you have Las Plagas, because 'cause you're actually seeing the parasite in
Yeah.
a bigger form rather than a little tiny cell that can mutate. Now it's like a big living organism that takes over its host and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I will say about number 7 is I wasn't expecting the contagion to be mold,
Yeah, that
and
was
that
weird.
that felt really weird. I mean, obviously, it's understood why, and, when they start breaking it down, it is manufactured again as a bioweapon. I don't know. I think it's because it's the first game that they didn't rely on Wesker or something Wesker related
Yeah,
to bring forth something malicious.
yeah.
Um, as far as number 8 goes, I didn't really play all the way through. I mean, I'm really just at the beginning. So, I mean, I don't know about if you like what you want to explain about the enemies there.
I mean, it basically goes back to, it still deals with the molded and stuff like that. It
Okay.
kinda shows the backstory of all that, and it really goes back to basic, not the basics, but basic story of how Umbrella got its beginnings. I'm playing Resident Evil 9 now. I think I'm either a quarter of the way through or halfway
Is it
through.
still molded or
It seems like we're going off of another variant of the T virus. It kinda looks like it's someone that used to work for Umbrella, but not too sure, and where I'm at in the game, it looks like it just raised more questions. It does feel more cinematic in this game, and the graphics are getting better and better each game we get. So, it's interesting. The play style, I like how when you're playing as Grace, you have the Resident Evil 7 slash Resident Evil 8 feel of first person, and I feel like the whole game for her should always be played in first person. You can play in third person as her, but I feel like if you did, it would probably negate a lot of the horror factor on it. And then when you're playing as Leon, at first, in the first quarter or half of the game, he feels like you're playing Call of Duty again. It seems kind of like Resident Evil 6, where he's just picking up ammo left and right and just tanking enemies. And I wasn't feeling it now that I am where I am now, because it seems like the first quarter's maybe more Grace and a little bit of Leon to help push the narrative, and then when you get to this part of the game, you're Leon, and I don't know if you're gonna get back to Grace at some point to where it might be a little bit of Grace, mostly Leon, but right now I'm just Leon. It feels like that whole tankiness of him is slowing down a bit, so it feels a little bit more Resident Evil 4 now. So
okay.
uh, I was getting a little antsy on that, but now that I'm playing it more as Leon, I'm like, okay, it seemed like they just did that to get him to push through the story for Grace.
Right.
So we'll see. Right now, I'm really enjoying the game. I was a little on the fence doing that whole beginning when you play as Leon, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to make this easy because I'm playing third person Leon that almost seems like he's a superhero now. But
Well, I mean, that's what Chris turned into.
I know, and I'm like, "Please don't do that." I think I can put myself at ease now playing this next part, but I if it keeps going this way, I'll be happy. A lot of people are giving it rave reviews. Until I beat the game, I'm not gonna give it any review other than I'm enjoying it. So I like
Right.
where it's going. Obviously, they're gonna do a Resident Evil 10. Will Leon be in it? Will he still survive after this? Because he is going through some things right now. So I don't know. I think it is about time for some of our main characters in the Resident Evil franchise to finally either die off or sail into the sunset and we don't have to see them again. Because I do feel like we have a lot of characters that we haven't seen in a long time that we should be seeing. Let's,
Barry.
yeah, Barry. Let's give some people some more spotlight that have already, kind of faded into the background. Let's get them back in the forefront a little bit. Let's not do Resident Evil 6 to where we just throw everybody in it and it's just one pile of crap. Keep doing the slow burn. When you do the slow burn, I think everybody's happy.
So, with the games being talked about at this point, I kind of want to get into the movies.
Oh, the
Yep.
dreaded
Now,
movie.
obviously, and we should probably mention this first, there are movies that are based off of the game themselves. They are
Yeah.
CGI, they fit in. I don't know if they're 100% canon. I've seen most of them. I know there was
And
a CGI TV show, not to be confused with the Netflix TV show.
even though they were both on Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. So the CGI TV show just recently came out. I think it's like 4
Yeah,
episodes, something like
like a few
that.
years ago too.
Yeah,
It was okay from what I remembered, it just filling in gaps in between the games, but like you said, as far as, like, the lore goes between the movies and the CGI TV show there, it's hard to tell which canon they're following. Are they going off based off of the original game's canon? Because we had so many remakes to help kind of make the story more cohesive, which is why I really enjoy the remakes, because that was an issue that they had with the earlier games, is that there's a lot of contradictions and a lot of not sure what they meant kind of thing going on, and I feel like
right.
the remakes
I
streamline.
yeah, that's one of those things that you're like, I'm not sure if it was just a translation error,
Yeah.
like just something lost in translation. Because at the time, translation from Japanese was an early market, if you will.
Even though the original I think all the original Resident Evil games were done in English, but with different voice
Yeah,
actors, I think.
but they were written by Japanese
Japanese.
people.
Yeah.
So when the scripts were translated for the English speakers to do the speaking, we don't know, like, was it just one person? Like a lot of games back then were just one person given a script of Japanese and like, yeah, just translate that.
Yeah. Which was a lot of everything back in the day, anime,
Yeah.
any foreign film, stuff like that. It was
And if they
very
didn't understand
grotesque.
something, I mean, there's a lot of made up words
Yeah.
in the Resident Evil franchise.
I love me a
Those
Jill sandwich.
But there's a lot of pressure put on the translator to
Yeah.
just make something up on the spot.
Yeah.
And the translator just translates. They're not a writer.
Yeah.
So some things in some medium have suffered as a result of that. I don't know exactly how that worked out initially. And did they, correct it when they did the remakes?
Mhm.
Did they just accept it and keep it the way it was? I don't know to what level that worked.
Yeah, me neither. But as far as the movies are concerned, we had that film franchise with Mila Jovovich, which was
Yep.
successful for what it was doing at the time, even though the movies were not good at all. You said you only
Yeah.
liked the first one. Me, it was the first two. I think mainly because the second one, it felt like they were introducing characters that could intertwine with the games, and the action was like it felt total 80s action film, and it was a guilty pleasure kind of movie. And then when you get into the third movie, it totally just 7-year time skip. What you thought was set up in the second one, you're missing 7 years of what happened, and it's like you're watching Mad Max at that point.
Yeah.
It really, for me, made the franchise go in the crapper.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of the departure of the horror aspect from
Yeah,
the first one to just plain action.
yeah,
Um, it's fine because that's kind of the way that the games themselves went. But that being said, the franchise itself, I didn't feel like was going to be successful even at that point. It
yeah,
was successful, but it was successful in the memeiest ways.
yeah.
It was, oh, hey, the last one was so bad. I got to check out this next one.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. I got tired of it because I just was let down after let down after let down. Although they do have some good things in them, like the guy who played Wesker in the fourth or fifth film, I can't remember. I thought he was a good Wesker, but
Yeah.
as far as the story goes, it was just kind of like so out there. So they're just grabbing little references, and
Yeah,
it
it
just
was just a reference machine.
yeah,
At a certain point, they were like, "Hey, those new monsters that you have in the games? Well, here they are." And it's like,
yeah,
"Well, how do they make sense in your world? Because everyone who is involved is dead in your version,
yeah,
And then they just like it was weird that Leon started popping up towards the end of their franchise
yeah,
and you're like, "Wait a minute, how did he even get there? Like, how is he this he's not the same Leon, he just looks
exactly.
the same." And there's so many disconnects
Yeah.
for that movie franchise. And yes, they remade it. They were like, "Let's start fresh. We're rebooting." And that was worse.
Yes, I mean
I don't I don't wanna say it was worse as a whole because they were both bad.
yeah. I
but it
mean,
was worse in the sense that they tried to be serious and they still couldn't get there.
yeah, and the issue was is that it had everything that it needed in the movie itself to be successful. It had the characters that should be there. It was an amalgam between Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, the games. The only issue with it was the story, obviously, and the characters. They mashed everything together. They made characters totally unlike their counterparts in the
And
game.
unlikable, period.
Yes.
I did not like Claire at all, and I love Claire in the games.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of that actress. I first saw her in the European show Skins, and I thought she was kind of boring as her
Right.
character in that. A total rebellious teen or whatever, and I just nothing against her, but I don't think she was a good fit for Claire in that movie. Technically, a lot of the characters were mismatched, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
They didn't really have the people playing them that they should have. I mean, I don't know who would have played them, but I felt like they could have found better actors to portray those characters.
or maybe they were told to play them exactly as they did. A lot of it comes down to the producers. Their job is to make sure that everything is being produced the way it
Yeah,
should. Um, and, the director too, for sure. A lot of people, when they do a video game movie, is they hear that the source material is a video game and go, whatever,
yeah,
I'm just gonna do my thing. And that kills it.
yeah,
And that kills the whole movie in general.
which has me in fear of the next Resident Evil reboot because
Yes.
we got our guy who did Weapons and
Weapons.
Barbarian coming in. He's only ever played the video games, which sounds like a good thing. He says he's gonna do his own thing. It's not gonna it's gonna tie into the games, but it's not going to affect, I guess you could say, the storyline the way the other movies did, to where they just take parts as reference and then throw the history out the window. But then later on, it kind of backtrack saying, no, I'm going to do things like this. And he was coming from a place of true fandom, and then he's just going to crap on it. And I'm not sure if that's because of him or because of the studio itself and other
Right.
producers involved.
Yeah. There again, there's so many wheels turning in a production like that. The end product usually is just a victim of too many hands in the pot. Everyone trying to make their own thing of it when really the fans just want what they ask for, the game in a movie.
Yeah, a true adaptation. I have this whole thing to where if you're going to adapt something, 70-30. It's my rule. Nate's 70-30 rule. You got 70% of the movie needs to be on par to the T of the story. And then the 30% you have room to wiggle room to play with to add your own little spin on it
Yeah.
without ruining the integrity of the
Honestly,
franchise.
yeah. If you want to just do your own story, in my opinion, it's which is totally okay, but in my opinion, they should do like the way the Outbreak games did. Have your
Yeah.
own story, your own characters, throw them in the same thing. They just, we're watching something separate, but it is set in the same place at the
Yeah.
same time that the issues are occurring.
Which is what it sounded like this guy originally wanted to do or was going to do, but I don't know. I don't have faith in it anymore after what he said. I feel that it's just going to be a repeat of the last two tries at Resident Evil movies. And until I see a trailer, I am going to reserve my thoughts on it. I really hope he, you know, surprises us and gives the fans what they want, him being a fan himself. So we'll see.
Yeah, the problem is I mean, his history, he started off doing movies that were cheap knockoffs of American Pie. That's how he
Yeah.
got famous, doing those college, Porky's style movies.
Mhm.
And then he does a couple of horror movies and they do okay.
Yeah.
And suddenly he's this horror movie master. If he wants to continue a successful career, a lot's riding on this one.
Yeah.
And yes, he's going to have to do what the studio says if he wants to continue working for them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he also has to produce a movie that people want to see.
Exactly. I mean, I think if we're gonna get someone to do a Resident Evil movie, let's get Mike Flanagan in on it.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, but also fortunately, he's a little busy doing some Stephen King projects.
Yeah.
So,
Which I say let him cook. Get him in that
exactly.
kitchen. But as a whole, Resident Evil, it's still going strong after I think 30 years now, 25, 30 years or whatever. So as far as the games go, I think they're on the right track with the games. I'm not, really a huge fan of remakes, even though I keep buying them. And
Yeah,
for the most part, when it comes to Resident Evil, they've been one of the few companies to hit the mark on making good remakes. So keep doing what you're doing, Capcom. I appreciate those remakes, trying to tighten the lore better and make the gameplay more seamless pretty much throughout all the games. Obviously, the changes being first person, but still, it keeps it fresh and it still keeps it within that horror genre. And they give us the opportunity. Oh, you want to play it in first person? Go ahead. You want to play it in third person? Go ahead. So I like that they try and please new and old fans.
exactly. I mean, it's Capcom in the end, and Capcom has this weird thing of we have complete control of our video games and we do things the way we like it. But when it comes to movies,
We don't know
I'll-
what the heck we're doing.
yeah, I mean, we may do an animated version, which will be the best version you'll really see. Case in point, Street Fighter 2. Yeah, or even the Devil May Cry
Yep.
anime stuff. But if you want live action, uh we have no involvement really, other than providing the name.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, for them, you think about it, it's the games they care about most. Movies and stuff. That's just more money that they just tell somebody else to do for them. Overall, Resident Evil has been a big factor in my life. I wanted to keep going as much as the movies are crap. We eventually one has to land. One has to be really good, and it can't just be the first Resident Evil movie that we got. Even though the original first Resident Evil movie that we should have got, who knows how that would have been.
As long as future projects don't get worse than the Netflix live action TV show, then I'm okay. Because that wasn't a remake or reimagining. That was like a sci-fi I don't even know what to call that.
Uh,
That was like someone had written something that was vaguely familiar, like similar to Resident Evil in concept, and they were like, let's just throw some names in there, get title recognition, and get Capcom to sign off on it. That's what
it,
I feel like they did there.
you said it right there. It seemed like a sci-fi channel show.
It really, yeah. And I did not finish it. It
Yeah.
was that bad.
I didn't even bother watching it. They changed too much off of the trailer. I'm like, it's fine to do certain things, but when you're adding like a complete different element of like twin sisters that never even existed, I'm like, what? I don't know.
Yeah.
It just didn't interest me. Uh, Try and stick to the lore the best you can. That's what at least the games are doing. They're trying to, tighten things up, make it more fluid to where it makes sense, and stick with that, Capcom. You're doing okay as far as the games. Let's get the movies on track, and hopefully we get another 30 years of Resident Evil. How they're going to continue another 30 years, I don't know. There's only so many bioweapons you can create. Um,
Well, the next one's gonna be controlled by AI. Come on.
oh yeah, of course. AI parasites. There we go.
Yep.
With that said, this has been our Resident Evil episode of the podcast. If you don't know us, we are Plot Hole Productions. You can check us out on Spotify, Instagram, and of course YouTube. Leave a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts on the Resident Evil franchise. Is the games doing a good job lately now? Is the show or the shows doing good for you? Are you happy with those? Are you unhappy with those? Same thing with the movies. Are you excited for the reboot? Or are you like us to where we're very skeptical on it? So, with that said, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to keep up to date on all things Plot Hole Productions. I'm your host, Nate Slater,
And I'm Chris Sandbrook, and we'll catch you in the
in the
void.
void.